Okay, today we're looking at The Road Never Traveled, and this comes from it's a play on Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken, I think it is. Very inspiring poem, but I did kind of a play on it on a poster that I made for Facebook. When I was on that medium, I've gotten off since, but the saying I put on there was, many take the road widely traveled, a few take the road less traveled, only you can take the road never traveled. And that's what I want to talk about today. And this is a little bit different take on our spiritual journey. So listen with an open mind and just think about some of these things, because I think the further I get into this whole thing, the more I understand it in a different way. As you know, I was raised, as many of you were, in a traditional Christian setting. And I went from that to Unity and became ordained. I was ordained in 1981 and been serving in Unity churches ever since. And during that time, my thoughts about the spiritual path have changed, not hugely, not significantly. Well, they have changed significantly. But it's because I started asking some questions that I never asked in the beginning of my discovery of Unity. But everything that we do gives us kind of a boost into the next phase of our life. And so I appreciate everything that I have been exposed to, including my traditional upbringing. What I found early in my ministry was, over 40-some years ago, that that was very helpful to understand how people coming out of the traditional religious mindset, how they thought and how some of the things they struggled with. I was able to understand that, and I was on a television show just the first couple of years that I was up in Michigan. And I went to the station and sat down, was wired up, with a microphone and everything. The woman that was hosting it, before the cameras came on, she said, I just want you to know that I'm going to do everything I can within my power to discredit you. And I thought, well, this is going to be a fun interview. Well, she was Catholic, and but they had a guest the week before, Dr. Martin was his name. He wrote a bunch of books about Christian cults, and Unity was one of them. And so she interviewed him, and she knew all about Unity and all about cults and what we represented and all of that. So we got into the interview, and it was very interesting, but she didn't have a clue as to what she was talking about. She didn't know the questions to ask. She didn't know how to get to the bottom of what she was asking. She just was parroting basically what she had picked up from this expert on cults. Well, actually, if you look at what the meaning of a cult is, the traditional mainstream Christian would qualify. Jesus would be the head personality of that cult. So we don't think of it that way. It's just to throw names and barbs at other perspectives has never been a very useful thing to do. But actually, after the interview was over and the camera shut off, she started asking some very good questions, and we had a real good conversation. And I think she did not become a believer in what I was talking about, but she certainly kind of took a couple of steps back and thought about it. So, but the Catholic religion, apparently you grow up in that, and it's pretty hard to challenge, it's pretty hard to question that. But, it's true with all of us. We carry, we're impressed most through our youth, and we carry that with us through our whole life. And I pointed out to you, I still go to this idea of God as the old man in the sky, not in a serious kind of way, but just the word God conjures up that image, in my mind still. So I don't have to rethink it. I just naturally do now. But I think of God more as the creative life force, the living energy that we live in that is expressing through us now. I think of it in a very different way, than a personality. But the road widely taken, it's mainstream thinking about the spiritual path. The traveler finds assurance in the large numbers of people that take this road. And what I have discovered over the years is a lot of people are in mainstream thinking, not because they necessarily think about it, not necessarily because they believe it, they just accept what they've been told and they go with it because, well, look at all the people that are going with it. It must be true, if we have super highways going down this path, this way of thinking, then there must be something right about it. And there's something prestigious about going to the biggest church in town and saying I'm a member of that church and being part of that. So that's the road widely taken. That's where you'll find most people. And so don't. That's neither good nor bad. I'm not judging that in the sense because there's a time when that'll work best for you. Probably all of us have been through that time, or we wouldn't be here. Okay, so the road less traveled is an alternative to the mainstream. The numbers of followers are smaller, but the alternative resonates with the traveler's logic and growing need for deeper understanding. Yet this road is still a system of thought developed by others. And I would put unity in all New Thought religions or New Thought perspectives in this category. That when I found unity, it was a great alternative to me to mainstream Christianity. It allowed me to keep what I felt comfortable with in mainstream Christianity, but see it in a different way, see it in a new light. But the system was developed pretty much by Charles Fillmore, one person who meditated up to 6 hours a day and was considered a mystic and did a phenomenal thing by taking mainstream Christianity and interpreting it in a spiritual kind of way that would appeal. It was the first time the spiritual thing was made sense to me. It was logical. I could understand what he was talking about. I could understand this idea of God within me, and my work on this planet is to become aware of that and to express that, and that spiritual identity, we related to as the Christ, the spiritual dimension of each person, not Jesus' last name. It's a part of all of us, and I went with that for many years and still go with it. I'm not saying I'm rejecting any of it, but I don't use that term as much. In my own thinking, I don't use it at all because Christ, to me, is a foreign name. I don't relate to it at the soul level. It's a name I have to think about and reinterpret to make it make sense. Because when somebody says Christ died for your sins, what do you think about? We all think of Jesus, don't we? So that's deeply ingrained in our consciousness, that we associate the man Jesus with Christ. And the Christ is actually a title, and it's used several times in the New Testament. Jesus talks about false Christs. There will be false Christs, and they'll make all these proclamations. And I talked about one of them a couple of weeks ago in the Jewish revolt that occurred, I think, it was 132 A.D. or something in that vicinity. I was reading of a Islamic Christ that lived about 1,000 years later. No, not 1,000, less than that, 1800s. And there's photographs of him. I mean, the camera was out and they took pictures of this guy, and he claimed he was the Christ, but in the Islam tradition. So these proclamations have been made for a long time, and it's very difficult to disassociate that word, in my thinking anyway, with my soul or my spiritual essence. Because to me it puts up an image that I will never achieve. I will never be able to achieve that. We all think of Jesus. Have you ever heard somebody say about somebody else, he thinks he's Jesus Christ? What's that mean? We get this image, he thinks he's perfect, he thinks he can walk on water. So we associate all of that with something we could never achieve in our own thinking. So that's where I have moved away from that. And I'm just talking about myself personally. I'm not trying to influence anybody in doing the same thing. I'm just talking about my journey. The road never traveled. The spiritual path discovered through personal revelation. The person on this path has experienced some level of their spiritual essence. They know their way forward is a unique journey of self-discovery. Now, what you find behind every movement, you'll find usually an individual who has done this. They have gone apart, they have had their own experience that sets them apart from the crowd. And they come out saying something. In the case of Unity, it was Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, actually. Together they had their own individual experiences, but that combination became the Unity movement. And every movement that you find, you'll find an individual who went apart, who took the road never traveled and had revelations. You find it in Buddhism, you find it in Christianity, of course. Every religion, in Islam you find it. You can trace it back to a person who had a revelation, who had a personal awakening, because they took the road never traveled. And then they get out and start teaching, and that becomes a road that other people begin to follow, and it becomes pretty populated. And at times it becomes a big machine, and we lose sight of that. But the question I ask is not what did Charles Fillmore, Emily Cady, the Emma Curtis Hopkins, what did they teach? The question I have now is what made them teach it? What did they do that set them apart? What makes them stand out? And the bottom line of this is that this is what they taught, that each individual should do what they have done in that sense. Not go out and start a religious movement necessarily, but to go within your inner closet, shut the door, pray to your Father who's in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. That is a personal connection to God, and that is a road only you can take. And that's what we emphasize. And when you do have an experience, and it's not an easy thing to attain, when you do have one, you will think entirely different about the nature of God. You'll think entirely different about the nature of yourself. This is one of the great values I see in the near-death research, is that people are going along minding their own business, many not even religious, have not a spiritual bone in their body. And they'll have this near-death experience, and it changes their perspective entirely. In a matter of seconds, their lives change entirely. And there aren't too many things that Bruce Grayson, he's one of the foremost researchers in near-death. He's a psychiatrist, and he says, as a psychiatrist, we work with people for years to try to get them to change, to try to help them to change some behavior. But a person can have a near-death experience and do it in a couple of seconds, a profound change. Why is that? It's because they see something that has always been present within them, but they didn't know it was there. And they probably didn't know it was there because they were looking someplace else, looking for it in the words of other people or the guidance, teachings of other people, and did not find it within themselves. And you don't want to have a near-death experience to do that. We want to do that in our own time, and where it doesn't You don't mount up all the medical bills, being resuscitated and all that. So the road never traveled. This is one of my favorite parables that Jesus gave, first of all, because it's very short. And it's totally profound. I mean, I keep coming back to it and say, I think this is the best definition of the spiritual path I think I've ever read. And I keep repeating it. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. And I apologize if you can't see all the writing because of the sun is so bright there. But when you think about this, he says the kingdom of heaven is like this. And it's a very strange parable if you're thinking about the kingdom of heaven as a place you go when you die, or it's a place. It's an attainment, enlightenment, an attainment that you acquire through study and meditation and years of practice and so forth. The man does not change at all. The man doesn't go to any kind of a school. He stumbles upon this treasure buried in a field. He finds it, and in his joy, covers it up. He hides it so nobody else will get it. Keeps it to himself, in other words. And then he goes and sells everything he has so he can own that field. But he is happy about it. He's joyous about it. But the man himself is not required to change. He recognizes the value of the treasure that he sees, and that's what changes him. Just like when a person has a near-death experience, they're changed not because they read about it, other people having this kind of thing, and that they should probably change. They see a treasure. They actually see it. They experience it. And that causes the change. Until you touch the living essence of your being, you have not found the treasure. You may know where it is, and you may know where to keep looking. But the man is not burdened by, oh, I've got to go out and sell everything and buy this field. I've got to read books about how to sell, on eBay, so I can go out and sell my possessions and get enough money to buy this field. He doesn't do any of that. He sees something that is the most valuable thing he has ever seen. And that's what changes him. And he changes like that in an instant. And I think that's the point of what Jesus is trying to point out here. It's not a long road. It's an instantaneous moment of recognizing the treasure, the value of the treasure. And it's in joy that he goes out and gets rid of what he no longer needs so he can trade that in to buy that piece of property. And that's how we should think of the spiritual path. If you are reading book after book after book and working on yourself, trying to make yourself more whole or better spiritually in some way, that's not what this parable says. It says the moment will come when maybe you'll stumble on it. Maybe you won't even be thinking about it, where you will have some level of experience in yourself where you recognize you are not your body, you're not flesh and bone. You are something more. You have these things. These are your vehicles for this earthly journey. But you are something more than that, and that's what the near-death experiencer comes to, is they see I'm more than my body. And that's pretty obvious when you're looking at your body from the ceiling. So the spiritual path is not about soul development. See, the man did not develop. There was nothing about the man that was developed, that had to develop, that had to become more than he was. The spiritual path is not about soul development. It has everything to do with discovery of a fully developed treasure totally within our ability to realize. We take the burden off of ourselves by thinking, it's not me that's so spiritually ignorant. I think we criticize ourselves because we just don't feel like we're getting it, because we don't wake up every day and have a bright, sunny, happy day. We feel like we're not so spiritually advanced, and that as a spiritual being, if we're waking up, we ought to have every day ought to be good. Well, it's not always good, but that doesn't mean there's something wrong with us at all. And that's one of those things we have to sell, one of those ideas we have to sell. The spiritual path is not about soul development. It has everything to do with discovery of a fully developed treasure totally within our ability to realize. And what is that totally developed treasure? That's you. That's your soul. That's what you are underneath this unawareness, underneath this darkness of unawareness. We cannot express the full potential of the soul while in a physical body. Have you ever heard that from a spiritual teacher? I absolutely have come to believe this is true. If you express the full potential of your soul right now, you would ditch your body in a heartbeat, because your body keeps your soul from doing things that it can do without the body. Travel is one of them. Just think how much money you'd save if you didn't have to carry your body around. Eating, all the things that we have to do with the body. But now we're not saying the body's a bad thing. But instead of thinking, I've got to develop my soul, bring the full potential of my soul while in this physical body, that's never going to happen. I've known a lot of people on this path. I know a lot of people in my profession. I don't know anyone that has reached that point where they, and I have met some world-famous, world-class speakers, and I've gotten to know a couple of them. And I must say that in some cases, I've never been so disappointed in my life as to get to know them. They're not what you think. They put on a facade, but that's not what they are. They have not come anywhere near achieving what they say that we all should be achieving or should be able to achieve. So let's just make peace with this. We're never going to express the full potential of the soul while we're in this body. That's not the point. That's not why we took on a body. If we want to express the full potential of the soul, then we would ditch the body, because the body dumbs us down. The brain dumbs us down. It dumbs down the intelligence that the soul is, that we are. This, almost to the person, is what the near-death experiencers say, is they do not, the moment they realize they're out of their body, they feel better than they've ever felt in their life, and there's no way they're going to go back in that little thing. That's what they all say. There's no way. And then some uncle or Jesus or somebody comes and says, it's not your time yet. They say, I'm not going back. There's no way. But what's amazing, and this is a universal response, is they look at the body and they don't care about it. Instantly. It's like, that's not me. I know that's not me. This is me. And they will sometimes try to get the surgeons who are frantic because the patient's flatlining and they're looking from the ceiling. The patient's up there saying, why are these people so frantic? And they go down to the surgeon, and one woman talks about trying to grab the surgeon's arm to stop him from doing the surgery, and her hands go right through his through his arm, and he can't hear her screaming at him to stop. I'm fine, leave me alone. Leave that thing alone, that's not me. And of course the doctors are on the other side saying, my total commitment is to make this person come back. That's what I'm all about. That's what my profession is. I'm sworn to do. So it's a very interesting shift in perception. But they do come back. And they come back because they realize there's something they either need to do, or they just feel that it's not their time to leave. So that's a very important part. We're not here to develop the soul, but we're here for something. We're here for some reason. We're not here to learn to overcome material limitations. Knowing our stay here would be brief, we suited up specifically for this earthly experience, understanding the limitations that we would encounter. This, to me, makes the most sense. It'd be like the scuba diver donning the awkward equipment, to go down into an environment that would not normally go into. Would the scuba diver down in that environment say, I want to get rid of this awkward suit while I'm under the water? They wouldn't do that. So we have this physical suit so we can experience this plane of existence. But I believe that when we took it on, and I think we know that we did, I think we made that choice. You may not think that, but I do. That's what I've come to, that everything that happens to us is a choice at some level. It may not be a conscious choice, but I believe that we took on a body because we wanted to, for some reason. And I think the reasons are as different as each one of us individually. I don't think there is a reason. If we try to answer the question, what is the meaning of life? We have to say, what is the meaning of life to you? Why are you here? Why did you take on this body? Why did you put on this suit? So you could experience this earth life. And you may have evolving reasons. You may have come for something, and that reason's no longer valid, no longer applies. But then you don't want to leave, so what are you going to do with the rest of your life? What are you going to do with your life now? And that's really the question. I'm here temporarily. And don't you feel that the older you get, how fast your life has gone? It just seems like I'm 67, and I should be 7, or I should be 17, or I should be 24. I shouldn't be 67. My mother should be 67, but she's 91, I think. She thinks same thing, that she should be 67. But how fast that goes. You think back, you can think of a lot of things that you've done and put things in perspective and all, but it goes by in a flash. And I think that when we incarnate, we know that. We know that's how it's going to be. And so to us, if we go down and take on a body and totally screw it up, we think, well, I'll just do it again if I need to. It's not like we're bound to anything, because the old way of thinking is, I've got to get into this body and I've got to, get my soul all instructed about how to be spiritual and how to overcome material things and all of that. Well, what if that's not the reason that we come? What if this earth is not a school, it's a playground? It's a place to just come and have an experience or have many experiences. Because I used to teach that earth was a school and that we have come here to evolve the soul. Well, what if the soul's already evolved? And what if that's not the reason? Then we start asking different questions. And I think those different questions that we start asking, that's what gets us into a place where we can actually experience the spiritual dimension we're talking about. It's not something that's being kept from us at all. It's that we are trying so hard to evolve and to grow our souls that we're looking in the wrong direction. We're looking to the words and teachings of other people rather than going within, as Jesus said. I mean, all the great spiritual masters say this. Go into your inner room and close the door. What's that mean? It means shut off all of the opinions of the world about what the spiritual path is. You are it. You're on it. You are an individual that's never existed before. Each one of us, we have our own road, we have our own spiritual path, and only we can do it. Only we can take it. And that causes us, just that thought alone, causes us to think about this whole thing in a new way. What if your soul is finished? What if it is absolutely complete and you simply don't know it? Then what do you do about that? See, that's a new question you start asking. What do I do about this? I don't know about this soul. And the minister says it's complete and it's ready for my observation and experience. So how do I do that? How do I get to it? We start asking questions that we can actually apply to our spiritual understanding. But we're not here to fill up our heads with spiritual information. That's kind of what I went through ministerial school, and you earn credits and you get all the, pile of credits in your hand and you show the world, and they say, well, he's really something. Well, people do that and never have a spiritual experience, never know themselves, never touch that living wire that is the soul. So how can you be in a spiritual business and having never touched the spiritual dimension in yourself. See, that's what sets Jesus apart. That's why he taught with such authority, because he knew what he was talking about. He was saying, you don't have to wash your hands before you eat. It's not what you eat anyway, it's what you think. That is what affects your life. It's not what goes in your mouth, it's what comes out of your mouth. That's what affects your life. So he would say this, and all the people that heard it say, well, you're going against tradition. You're breaking all the rules. And he said, yeah, but the rules you guys are keeping don't work. That's not what wakes you up. You can wash your hands till you're blue in the face and you still won't know who you are spiritually. You can eat all the right food and still not know who you are. And that's what sets the spiritual teacher apart from the religious teacher. The religious teacher teaches you how to wash your hands and what food to eat. And these are Jewish traditions, of course, not necessarily ours. But using people like Jesus as examples, we develop ideas on what a spiritually enlightened person should look and act like. We then compare ourselves to this phantom image and never measure up. Nor will we ever, because this imagined perfection does not exist. Now, this is something you really need to think about. Every one of us have a picture of Jesus, and we have a picture of what we think we should become spiritually. Where did that come from? Whose is that? Is that yours, or did you read it in a book? Did you read it in several books? And I would have to say that the image I carried around for a long time, I read in several books I got from other people. And I had my own experience, which was completely different from what I had read, but I was in a profession where I was to teach certain ideas that fit a pattern, that fit that particular orthodoxy. So this image that we carry of Jesus, there's not a single person on this planet that has an accurate image of Jesus, because we do not know who he was. We have no historical facts based on him. We have nothing written by him, no memoirs, no letters. Paul we can kind of get a little bit closer to because we have letters from him. But not one single person has a correct image of who Jesus was, because nobody knows. Absolutely nobody. Never have. The only people that knew him were the people that walked with him. And none of those people wrote in, none of their writings became New Testament writings, not even Paul's. The closest Paul got to Jesus was a vision on the road to Damascus. You're familiar with that story. And I would not discount that, because I think that's a very profound way to experience things. But the image that we hold of what is the perfect spiritual person, and we're trying to say somebody like Jesus, we don't know. So that's one of the things that we have to sell. The man that discovered the treasure in the field, we have to get rid of these things. I don't know who he was, and he's not my model. My model is me. My model is my soul. It's not something I pick up outside, not even a Jesus. The value of Jesus is he told you to do that. He's a teacher that said, get in touch with who you are at the deepest level. That's the value, and that's been lost in the translation in the New Testament writings, what I've been talking about for several years now. So we will make the most progress when we think of our spiritual path as one that only we can travel. We each have the faculty and the design to know God, the source of our being. Our quest must be a commitment from the heart rather than an urging from the pages of a book. All guidance points us to what we already know but have forgotten. Yet we have not forgotten, which is why Jesus gave this advice. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. He didn't say evolve your soul. He just said stay with it and you'll get it. Very simple idea. All right? So I'm taking a lot of responsibility off of all of us this morning, and I'm putting a lot of responsibility on us in a different way. But I hope it's a more natural. To me, it's like taking off this suit and putting on blue jeans. It's more comfortable, fits better, and it feels better. Find your own road. That's the bottom line. And make it your own road. That's what we're about. All right. Thanks for coming out. Hope that gave you something to think about.
Well, it's a good day for singing a song, and it's a good day for moving along. Yeah, it's a good day. How could anything go wrong when it's a good day from morning till night? Well, it's a good day for shining your shoes, and it's a good day for losing the blues. Everything to gain and nothing to lose, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. I said to the sun, good morning, sun. Rise and shine today. You know you gotta get going if you're gonna make a showing. I know you'll find a way, 'cause it's a good day for paying your bills, and it's a good day for curing your ills. So take a deep breath, throw away all those pills, 'cause it's a good day from morning till night. I said to the sun, good morning, sun. Rise and shine today. You know you gotta get going if you're gonna make a showing. I know you'll find your way, 'cause it's a good day for being with friends, and it's a good day for making amends. Yeah, it's a good day from beginning to end. Well, it's a good day from morning till night. Yes, it's a good day from morning till night. Yeah, it's a good day from morning till, good day from morning till, good day from morning till night.
You've been watching a talk given by Reverend Doug Bottorff here at Independent Unity in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us spread our message. If you would like to support us, you can do so by clicking the button in the right-hand corner of the video screen. We greatly appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching.